Welcome to Magic Arcanum. I'm Ryan Gomez. Behind the scenes is Nicole Burdick, and we're so glad you're here because it's story time. And today's story time features my disembodied voice as we look at Alpha Clash, a new trading card game. Just came out today. You should be able to pick this up at your favorite local gaming store, but if they don't have it, walk in there and ask them to order some. You can also order this, I think, online still through Team Covenant. I'll have a link down in the description if that's something you want to check out. But what is Alpha Clash, and why should you maybe consider playing it? Just to be clear up front, this is not sponsored content. The creators of the game sent me some product to do whatever I want with it, and I thought I would open some of it in a quick little video here. So I've got a couple things. I've got this 2-player Clash kit, which has 2 different starter decks in it. And then we've got a whole booster box that maybe we can crack some of the packs out of there. So Alpha Clash, it is a game that received a successful Kickstarter. It was created by, I think, a group of friends kind of at the start of the pandemic who were suffering through lockdown together and decided to try their hand at making a trading card game, and it had a successful Kickstarter, so people seem to like it. The overall theme is kind of a comic book style superheroes kind of battling for supremacy. And you get to make your deck around a contender. So let's, here, through the magic of editing, I will open this right now. Ta-da, wow, pretty fast. Okay, so this is what you get in the Clash deck, and we'll just kind of look at the 2 starter decks here and explain roughly how the game works. So first of all, this is one of the decks, and it features this guy here, Magnate. So he's kind of like an evil Superman. He uses like radiation powers, and he throws his there they are, these kind of green lancer things here. He spears people with them. We'll get to that. Okay, so each deck first needs a contender. And so these are kind of like picking a commander for Magic. And they can have different health, although I think in the first set they all start at 30. And they each have 2 different abilities down here on the bottom, which is hard to get in focus. There we go. Okay, so at 30 health or less, all Alpha Clash cards you control get +0, +1. So this guy buffs up the toughness of your other Clash cards, which we will explain in a moment. And if your opponent beats you down to 10 health or less, then once per turn during your primary phase, or your main phase, you may engage this card. So tap it. If you do, target opponent discards 1 card. So the more they beat up your Magnate, the more angry he gets, and he starts stripping cards out of their hand. Kind of a brutal fighter guy. So your contender is like always on the field. They usually sit kind of up in the corner. And when you attack an opponent, you always attack their contender and try to whittle their life down to 0 and knock them out of the game. To do your attacks and to protect your contender, you're going to use cards like this guy. So this is a Clash, or basically a creature, and so they have a name and a summoning cost or casting cost, and then they have attack and defense values and some information on the bottom about what planet they're from and what their affiliation is. I think there's like 6 different factions, and there's 5 different colors. Each color kind of has their own strengths and weaknesses, pretty typical for trading card games. And any card can be played kind of upside down and become a resource of its own color. So the 2 starter decks are monocolored. We have Magnate in green, and the other contender is Moxie, who is black. And so Moxie is kind of cool. She's actually not a superhero in the sense that the other guys are. Are not an alpha. They have a special word for it. She's just like a regular soldier, but she has super armor, and weapons and equipment, very, very Iron Man-esque. Okay, so back to Magnate real quick. So I like the foiling on these cards, like the premium versions. They have this really cool sparkle to them, and they look great. Card stock is pretty comparable to Magic. They they don't really bend that easily. They're pretty sturdy and thick. So a good quality product. I really like the look, and they definitely worked with some artists who know how to capture that sort of epic comic book feel. In fact, this game even has a comic book or like a graphic novel that you can get that tells you the whole story of what's going on in this first set of Alpha Clash. But so basically, there's a bunch of different characters called Alphas who have this sort of superpower, but everyone's kind of manifests a little different. So you've got, tough guys, you've got speedsters, you've got, people who can fly and do all that sort of stuff. And you get to pick your contender. They each have a different color. And then I think you can still mix colored decks. So like even if your contender Magnate is green, you could have like a green and black deck, but you'd still need the right colored resources to play something. And so that's kind of this little tiny gem tucked under here. So to play this, you need one resource, but it has to be a green one. This needs 2 resources, but only one of them have to be green. So in a multicolored deck, you could get away with like a green-black here or something. So, oh man. Okay, so in this deck, I'm trying to think of the best way to kind of explain how this works. You've got your contender, then you've got cards that are like traps, which kind of behave like instants in Magic, and those can kind of change how combat is going, or they can let you do some special stuff there. You have Clash Grounds, which actually feel like lands, but they behave more like enchantments because they will affect where you're fighting, and they might have like a static effect that kind of changes how battles are going or something. This one, the Amazon Rainforest, it says trigger, when it enters, you may draw 1 card. So this replaces itself immediately. And during the draw step of each player's expansion phase, they draw 1 additional card, then discard 1 card. So this lets both players, or every player, loot basically each turn. And I say every player because this game supports multiplayer right away, right out of the box. There's enough different contenders. Everyone in your play group could have somebody different, make a different deck, and you can all sit around the table. Like I said, this was designed by a group of friends who were looking for something to do together. So it has a real epic multiplayer feeling to it right away. But I think there can only be 1 Clash Ground in play at a time. So if you play a new one, that means the battle has moved to somewhere else. So I think most of them kind of affect everybody or do something, that kind of helps or hurts everyone more or less equal. So you can't really just sit behind your Clash Ground so much. But this deck comes with Amazon Rainforest and New York City. You can even see there's Magnate up in the art, kind of fighting and destroying parts of the city. So this one gives Alpha Clash cards +2/+0 and flight, so it makes them fly. And when it enters, you draw a card as well. So locations are kind of cool, Clash Grounds as they are. So this deck has a few of those. And then, so our little dudes, our clashers, our creatures, these are often other superheroes or minions or characters who kind of help your contender or whatever. So like this is just a 1-drop. It's like a 2/1, pretty small Savannah Lions there. But you can also have your contender appear in your deck as a clash. So this is Magnate again, which is kind of neat because then you can do like a Magnate themed deck with him as your contender, and then he can also show up and be part of your attacks and defense strategy, which is kind of interesting. It's hard to do that in Magic and Commander. If you have a favorite legendary creature, they're not usually also in your 99 anywhere. And by the way, decks are, I think it's 60 cards. I should have double checked that. And you can have up to 4 copies of something. So the starters come with duplicates of quite a few, but you can tweak them to be whatever. Okay, so that is a 1-drop Magnate who is a 1/1, and when he's defeated, you get to draw a card. So if he dies, you get to, replace him with somebody else. But there's that cool like green energy lance that he's, I guess, famous for. So we got some copies of Magnate. Magnate's Plan. This is a basic action, so this is more like a sorcery that you can do on your own turn. Send target accessory to oblivion. So that just destroys an accessory. And accessories can be things like weapons or items that might, you can equip to your clashers and use that to kind of change their stats. So this is just a good all-purpose sort of a disenchant, if you will, to kind of control the battlefield a little bit. We've got Power Overflowing. So this is a clash buff. So these are special sort of instants that you play during combat to kind of give somebody a bonus. I think this is +2/+2 until end of turn, and then you can draw a card. But these ones are color dependent. So it says you may only play this if your contender is green. So you can make a green and black deck if you wanted, but you can only have the clash buffs that actually match your contender. So if you're doing Magnate, you can have the green clash buffs. You can't also use the black ones. You gotta only pick one. So here we go. Destructive Arrival, a quick action. So it's like an instant. And this is a counter, so when somebody attacks, you get to send target attacking clash card with an attack power of 2 or less to Oblivion. So this just kind of kills something that is weak. I'm trying to think of what an equivalent magic card would be. I guess this is kind of like a lightning bolt or something where it picks off like a small dude. So there you go. You can have, tricks up your sleeve. You can have this guy. You can have the Avenging Guy. So he's a 0/1, and when he enters, choose another target clash card you control. That card gets +2/+1 until end of turn. So he shows up and he buffs somebody else, and then he just sits there and he absorbs an attack, and you probably use him to like chump block, and then he's out of there. Magnate's Trap. So this is a counter on an attack. Send target attacking clash card with an initial resource cost of 2 or less to Oblivion. And then, what else is it? I'm trying to read this through my phone display. So then that card's controller discards 1 card. Okay, so this is pretty brutal. So you get to pick off something small and make them discard a card. That's like Magnate's signature thing. Pretty evil. And then we got some other versions of Magnate here, ready to fight. So this is just like a 4-mana 4/4. That's pretty buff. And they get, there's his Gamma Spear, right? So that's a basic action. Couple copies of that. There's a bigger version of Sonoro, kind of one of his allies, and then there's Magnate's Unwavering Might, and then at the very end we got some foil, shiny super Magnates, the Undisputed, and this is, again, this foiling is super cool. I mean, Magic doesn't really do anything close to this yet. So yeah, this is just like your ultimate version of him. He costs 8 resources, and he's a 7/6. And so combat works very similar to Magic, right? If my opponent's got some defenders out there and I go to attack, but I think attacks happen 1 at a time. So I would say I'm attacking with my 7/6, and if they don't have any defense, then you would just take 7 health off of their contender. But if they block with their own, then we compare attack and defense, and they would cancel out, and in this case, both of the 7/6s would die. Damage resets each turn, just like Magic, so if you can keep somebody alive for multiple attacks, that's better. Okay, so that's the Magnate deck. Let's see what Moxie has going on here. So there she's got her contender card, and so she is part of a group called, I think, Alpha Hunters. So she doesn't like these superheroes being out there causing a ruckus. She wants to hunt them down and just kind of keep them under control. Okay, so she says Alpha Hunter card clash cards you control may attach more than 1 weapon. So she helps you buff up your people by letting them carry more weapons, and then when she gets down to 10 health once per turn during your primary phase, you may attach a weapon you control to an Alpha Hunter clash card you control without paying that's attached cost. So you get just a free equip. So Moxie's all about using your weapon cards here to buff up your people. So let's see what she's got. So here is her light power armor. So this has an attach cost. If you can make that out, you got to pay 2 black. And then whatever you attach this to gets +2/+2 in flight. Obviously things that fly can only be blocked by other things that fly. But this card can only be attached to your Alpha Hunter clash cards. So you could put this in a different colored deck, but if you put this in, like with Magnate, none of his stuff are Alpha Hunters. He's an alpha, so they have this big A for alphas, and she has kind of this little helmet with a knife through it, I guess. So they're not really on the same team, and so the cards don't really work well together, which is kind of appropriate. Sharpshooter Moxie is actually a trap card. So this one says, counter play. You may activate this trap if the clash card being played has an initial resource cost of 2 or less. That card is sent to Oblivion instead of entering play. So traps you kind of set in your accessory row. I think they go face down. And then when the right condition happens, you get to flip it up. I could be totally making that up. Maybe you play these from hand. I don't remember. I haven't played this game in about a week, and I don't think I drew a single trap card last time I played. Oh, boy. Learning a new game is fun, though. So you can get all the information on the website. There's like a learn to play tutorial there. But I just wanted to open some cards and see some cool stuff. Like, look at this art. She got incoming support here. So we got like the mech suit behind her. She's got the huge battle rifle. And then, so this is her colored clash buff. So target contender or clash card you control gets +2/+2 till end of turn. Then you can draw a card. So this is free. It's a 0 cost +2/+2, but it only works in a black contender deck. So, boom. Okay, her locations, clash grounds, are Denver and the United Nations headquarters. So in the story, she fights against Magnate. So there he is, and there she goes flying up to meet him with her jetpack and everything. And yeah, so her location, clash ground, gives the Alpha Hunters +2/+0 and interception, which I think is just like reach. You can just reach up and block flying stuff. And the cost to attach weapons you control is reduced by 1. So this is a good location for her to hang out in. There she is, Captain Maxine Riggins, or Moxie, as her call sign, I guess, is. So you can have Moxie in your deck. Again, kind of a Savannah Lions, a 1-mana 2/1. Good for the first early couple turns. And then I like how, so she starts out just kind of in her skivvies here, I guess, holding like a Desert Eagle or something, and then she puts on, preparing for battle. She's got some of her armor on. She's got a bigger gun here, but she's a 1-mana 1/1, but when she enters, you may draw a card, so, a little velocity there. And then she's got some allies helping her out. We got a bear, a 2-mana 2/2, Sergeant Weber here, ready to jump in and battle. He's got his own binoculars. There's that sharpshooter card again, incoming support. Yeah, a lot of duplicates in a starter deck, but that's pretty typical. So here's Moxie, the Alpha Hunting Specialist, as a 3/1, so her power kind of keeps going up, and then Weber becomes a weapons expert, and he gets to start equipping stuff. And then, of course, you got Colonel Edwards here helping out from the base. He's doing stuff. And then when you enter, you can reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. If you do, you can put a weapon with a cost of 3 or less into your accessory zone. So he just kind of does a little mini, I guess not tutor. You're not looking for a certain thing. He just kind of comes out and he brings maybe some weapons with him. Good guy to have available here. So here's a weapon you could find, the light power armor or something else. So here's an even bigger Moxie, a 5-mana 3/3 that does some stuff. When she enters, you can send target Alpha Clash card with a cost of 2 or less to Oblivion. So she's kind of like a, I don't know, Ravenous Chupacabra or something. She just kind of shows up and eats somebody smaller than her, I guess. Well, he can eat anybody. Anyway, and then you get to like her cool, like, look at these, man. These are sick. So there's Moxie fully loaded and Moxie's heavy power armor. So we've got some beautiful foils here. Really just look super cool as cards. So we got a big 6/7. And, this power armor costs 4 and then 3 to attach it, but the attached clash card gets +4/+4. So that makes your dudes pretty buff. Slap that on Weber and go to town. So there we go. Those are the 2 starter decks. And I think the general flow of the game is pretty clear. Each person needs their own contender, their own deck, and you fill it with whatever you want. A bunch of cheap clash cards, maybe some clash grounds to fight over, and you're just kind of attacking back and forth. And like, again, very similar to Magic, attacks, exhaust you, or tap you or whatever, and blocks do the same. So if you have, 2 people and your opponent has, I don't know, I'm just trying to do this real quick. They got 2 over there. So attack with 1, okay, I'll block it, boom, and then I'll go to the next battle. This time I attack, I don't want to block it, so cool, contender takes damage. But then this is tapped, so on their turn, they can attack you, and now you're taking damage. So a lot of strategy in when it's safe to attack and, how your clashers are matching up with your opponents. But let's crack a booster pack or 2 and see if we get anything cool to fix up either of these decks. We have a box topper, Magnate the Tyrant, so there's a different kind of version of him, so we'll keep that for the trade binder. And let's pull out 2 right away. All right, so we got 2 9 trading cards per packs. A little green case. So these are the Kickstarter edition, which I think they're only printing a certain number of, and then they're gonna take that off of there as they do their second wave. So the Kickstarter, I think the pull rates are a little better on the Kickstarter. So there we go. This booster pack contains 9 additional trading cards, including 5 common, 2 uncommon, 1 rare, 1 guaranteed foil common, uncommon, rare, epic, iconic, rare, legendary, or alpha rare card. And there you go. There's the the URL, alphaclashtcg.com. All right, let's rip this open, see if we get something cool. I don't want this video to be too long here. Just want to kind of give you a quick look at this game. I think you can get a booster box about $70, and I mean it's a big box. There's a lot of packs in here, and the Clash pack is like 25 bucks, and you get 2 full decks ready to. I'm just destroying this booster. There we go. So I don't know if you're looking for like a second game to play. If you want something a little different for your Commander nights, you know, grab a box, grab some Clash decks. Pretty cheap to have something else in your backpack or in your. Oh my God, Ryan, what are you doing? Okay, so there we go. Alpha Clash. So we have another copy of Moxie preparing for battle. Okay, so I guess you can get the cards from the starter decks in the booster packs. That's fair, because not everyone's going to start with those Clash packs. We have Moxie's Sidearm. So attached Clash card gets +1/+1. So it's just a nice handgun, a little short sword for magic, if you will. Give something a little buff. We have Antarctica. So this is red. This is our first red card. So when it enters, deal 1 damage to all Alpha Clash cards. So this could do a lot of, you know, a little mini board wipe, but it wouldn't affect Moxie because she's not an Alpha Clash card. She's an Alpha Hunter card, so she would ignore the damage from Antarctica. Pretty cool. At the start of each player's turn, deal 1 damage to all Alpha Clash cards. So this just keeps racking up the damage. You do not want to hang out in Antarctica. That is pretty intense. Okay, then we have another Avenging Guy trying to help. A 3-mana, 3/1 vanilla, just cool art. He brought his own hunting bow from home. He's doing a little Green Arrow cosplay there. I like it. I like that there's just random civilians in here doing stuff. Oh, this is a cool one. Is it Cowling? Bane of the Discarded. A white. Okay, we haven't seen white yet. Trigger, enter. You may reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. If you do, you may add an accessory with an initial resource cost of 4 or less from among them to your hand. But the remainder is on the bottom in any order. Okay, so he's looking for like accessory cards. Could be equipment, could be something else. And just kind of helps you dig for those. So maybe white has like a little equipment theme going on. Here's Lynn. I think she's like a cyborg kind of a character. She got like her own energy shield there. So this is a 5-mana 5/5 with flight. Can only be obstructed. So their word for block is obstructed. Can only be obstructed by Clash cards with flight or intercept. So this is Sarah Angel level of card. I guess she doesn't have vigilance. Machina, 4-mana 5/3. So red seems to be a bit more aggressive with their stats. There's another gorgeous Magnate. This one has like an artist signature in it. I don't think the other ones had that. So, okay, so we have a different art for Magnate the Undisputed. So this is the one from the starter deck, and this is the one we just pulled out of a pack. It has like a gold foiling with the artist signature on it. That is pretty cool. And then we've got Torque. Oh man, this dude is like super buff. So attack trigger, deal 1 damage to your contender. So anytime you send this guy into battle, he hurts you. But when this card is obstructed by 1 or more of your opponent's Clash cards, deal 1 damage to each Clash card obstructing it. So if they try to block him, he does extra damage even before you compare attack and defense. So he can just kind of punch through little dudes without ever breaking a sweat, and he can kind of punch above his weight class because he's only a 4, but he would do effectively 5 damage to somebody else. Kind of cool. And there are, I know from playing the game already, there are other red cards that trigger when you take damage. So having him damage you when he attacks, I know that looks bad, but that might actually be what your deck wants. That could be good. All right, so let's open up another pack here. Try to wrap this up here. And look, there's like a little pull tab, but I can never get this to like, doesn't want to, oh, there we go. Okay, that didn't work out. All right. I should have scissors. That's what I should do. Next time we do pack openings, Nicole, make sure I have scissors. Okay, that's a note for you. All right. Pack number 2. We got another Captain Maxine. Okay, we have a new contender. We have a white one. This is Clarity. So she's kind of cool. She is like very old, but doesn't age. So she kind of has like a Liliana thing going on. And her goal in the story is to kind of stop all the fights, right? She doesn't want Magnate fighting. She doesn't even really want Moxie, fighting. She just kind of wants to help all the other contenders or all the other alphas find peace And I think in the story, she kind of teams up with like this little girl who's also a super powered, clasher, alpha clasher. And, she's trying to talk her out of getting into fights and stuff. So she's like a pretty chill, benevolent style character. And she seems to be kind of one of the poster kids of in fact, here she is. So here's Clarity ready for a fight. As the old Savannah Lions 1-mana 2/1. I think most of the contenders have like a 1-drop version of themselves, which again is kind of neat because you can do like a Clarity deck with Clarity in it, and you get to enjoy that character throughout the whole thing. And here she is with her 1911, because even though she is, I guess she's not a pacifist, but she is trying to chill things out. But she's got her own equipment that gives people +1/+1, so similar to Moxie's sidearm, but this one. I think I like this one better. Okay, and then we've got Deflect. What is this? So it's a quick action, a counter on attack, prevent all clash damage it would be dealt during this clash, then deal 2 damage to target contender. So this is a fog that also burns your opponent. That's pretty cool. And then we have another 4-mana 4/4. I keep saying 4 mana. It's not mana. It's just resources. Okay. So here is a card that works with this guy. Look at that. Wow, we got Mean Streak. Okay, so he's like a Flash kind of a character. He's like really speedy. He's the speedster in the story, but he's also kind of a jerk. And this is another one of those like gold with the signature thing on. This is pretty cool. 2 in a row. Wow, what are the odds? So I think there's a contender version of him as well. Okay, so he's got super speed. This card deals clash damage before clash cards without super speed. So he's first strike, basically, and a bunch of other abilities, which I'm not going to read. And then he kind of has these little orbs that follow him that are called streaks, and he can use those to like do stuff. Again, I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but this basic action says put 1 streak counter on target clash card you control. So this lets you add streak counters to things, which you can then redeem. They're not, I guess charge counters or something are probably the closest equivalent in Magic, but you could build a deck that just kind of proliferates, for lack of a better word, and kind of build around somebody like Mean Streak, who looks super badass. And then last, we have another version of Torque, kind of the buff red dude who, here we go, Enrage. When this card is dealt non-clash damage, it gets +1/+0. So yeah, this is, again, fits with red's kind of self-hurting or pinging, if you will, and you can kind of build a deck around that. So each color has their own thing. There are plenty of different contenders to build around and lots to do. I mean, this game has, again, some really cool looking cards, and they're pretty affordable. Like I said, a box is, I don't know, $70 maybe, and you can crack crack one with your friends. You start with that 2-player. There it is, the Clash Pack. You get 2 awesome decks right out of the box, and then see where your adventure takes you. But I think that's going to be it for this video. I might do just some pack openings in a second video here, just to kind of break them up so I don't have a giant hour-long single video. But that is it. That's Alpha Clash. Let me know what you guys think. Is there any cards that look cool? I don't know. Which one do we like best? I like Clarity. I'm kind of glad I opened one of her finally, although it's not the shiny one. But we got some new contenders to play with. We got some bad guys, some good guys. I just love the drama, and I think this does a really good job capturing those cool stories. Those Clash Grounds that showed, where did I put it? Oh, that's not it. That have the characters in it. I mean, the art is consistent across all the cards, and there's a lot to like about this game. But is it worth your time? I don't know. You'll have to let me know down in the comments. And then make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the more great stories that you'll only find here on Magic Arcanum, where we also sometimes dabble in other games. Thanks for watching. We'll see ya.